The city hits different at night.
At night, the brain lowers its emotional defenses, pain, empathy, and memory surface more intensely.
That's why moments like these change people.
In downtown Chicago, the kind of cold that doesn't just bite your skin but crawls straight into your bones, Marcus sat on the sidewalk outside a closed subway entrance.
Neon lights buzzed overhead.
Cars rushed by like nobody had time to notice anything real, and people walked past with their heads down, earbuds in, souls on airplane mode.
Marcus was homeless.
When we label someone, our brain stops seeing their complexity.
The word comes before the human. He wasn't the kind you see in movies. No dramatic speeches. No wise old man vibe.
Just a guy in a beat-up hoodie, cracked sneakers, and a body that had learned how to survive discomfort way too well.
He had one blanket.
It was thin, gray, and smelled like the city, smoke, rain, and old concrete. But it was his shield. Without it, the night wasn't just uncomfortable. It was dangerous.
That night, the temperature dropped fast.
And that's when Marcus noticed him.
The guy looked like he didn't belong on the street. Clean coat. Leather boots.
A watch that probably cost more than everything Marcus owned combined. His name was Ethan. Marcus would learn it later. Ethan sat against the wall a few feet away, knees pulled to his chest, staring at the ground like it had personally betrayed him. His phone lay face down beside him, screen shattered. His hands were shaking, not just from the cold.
Marcus clocked it immediately.
This wasn't some dude waiting for an Uber. This was a man falling apart.
Emotional collapse often looks quiet.
The brain shuts down before the body ever does.
Marcus looked away.
Not my business, he told himself. Life had taught him that you couldn't save everyone. Hell, most days you couldn't even save yourself.
But something kept pulling his attention back. Ethan's breathing was off. Short. Panicked.
Like his chest was trapped in a cage too tight to open. Marcus sighed, stood up, and felt the cold punch him in the spine.
"Yo," he said softly. "You all right, man?" Ethan looked up.
His eyes were red, wet, raw, the kind of eyes that hadn't slept in days.
"I can't breathe," Ethan whispered. "Everything just blew up. Job's gone. Wife's done. Today was supposed to be normal, bro." Marcus nodded. "Yeah." Life loved pulling that move.
Without saying another word, Marcus slipped the blanket off his shoulders and draped it around Ethan.
Ethan froze. "Wait, what?" "Dude, no," he said. "You need this." "I'll be fine." Marcus shrugged, teeth chattering now. "Cold is harder when your heart's breaking. Trust me."
And just like that, Marcus sat back down on the concrete.
Without his blanket. Acts of real compassion usually cost something. If it doesn't cost you comfort, your brain doesn't register it as meaningful. The city kept moving. Cars honked. Trains rumbled underground. People laughed somewhere far away.
Ethan stayed wrapped in the blanket, but his mind kept circling Marcus.
"Why would you do that?" he finally asked.
Marcus stared up at the sky, barely visible through the glow of streetlights. Because nobody did it for me when I needed it, he said.
And I don't want to be that kind of world. That hit Ethan harder than the cold ever could. They talked. Verbalizing pain reduces activity in the brain's fear center.
Being heard literally calms the nervous system. Marcus shared pieces of his life: a rough childhood, a home that never felt safe, a bad run with addiction, one wrong decision after another until there was nothing left to lose.
People think homelessness means laziness, Marcus said quietly.
Truth is, sometimes life just sucker punches you when you're already down.
Ethan wiped his face.
For the first time all night, he didn't feel alone.
Because pain doesn't care about your bank account. Morning came slow. The brain associates survival with daylight. Morning doesn't fix pain, it just makes it easier to carry.
The city woke up like nothing had happened. People rushed past again: suits, coffee cups, headphones, the usual grind.
Like the night before hadn't cracked something open.
Ethan stood up, blankets still wrapped around his shoulders, and looked down at Marcus.
"You saved me last night," he said quietly.
Marcus shook his head.
"Nah. You stayed alive. I just didn't walk away."
Ethan reached into his coat and pulled out his wallet.
Marcus raised a hand immediately. "Don't. If you really want to give something back, pass it forward. Be warm for someone else when it's their turn."
Ethan nodded, but there was something different in his eyes now. Like a decision had been made.
They exchanged numbers.
Then they went their separate ways.
3 months later. The brain remembers emotional moments far longer than logical ones. One night can rewire a life.
Marcus stood outside a small community center, staring at a sign he'd walked past 100 times before.
Winter outreach program now open. Inside, it was warm. Too warm.
A volunteer handed him a coffee, fresh clothes, and a clipboard.
"You knew?" Marcus nodded.
Before he could say anything else, a familiar voice cut through the room.
"Marcus?" He turned. It was Ethan. Clean shave. Tired eyes.
Same man, but grounded now. "I didn't lose everything that night," Ethan said, walking over.
"I lost my old life. But you kept me from losing myself." Marcus laughed softly. "So what, you working here now?" Ethan shook his head.
"I started this place."
Marcus froze.
Ethan continued, voice steady but emotional.
"I realized something after that night. Rock bottom doesn't look the same for everyone, but it feels the same.
So I quit chasing what broke me and built something that might hold others up."
Marcus looked around the room. Dozens of people. Warmth. Food. Safety. Ethan handed Marcus a jacket. Brand new. Inside the pocket was a small stitched tag. "Pass it forward." Marcus swallowed hard.
For the first time in years, he didn't feel invisible.
Sometimes the twist isn't that life suddenly gets easy, it's that the kindness you give away when you have nothing comes back as proof that you mattered all along. And that even the coldest nights can quietly change a life forever. Before you scroll away, sit with this for a second.
Most of us believe kindness comes from having extra money, extra time, extra emotional strength.
Psychology says the opposite.
The strongest acts of compassion often come from people who know what it feels like to be invisible. So here's the uncomfortable question this story leaves behind. If you were Marcus, cold, empty-handed, already hurting, would you have given the blanket away? And if you were Ethan, broken but still standing, would you have noticed the man everyone else ignored? We like to think we know who we are. But who we become usually shows up in moments we never planned for. Backhand index pointing down comment below. Would you give the blanket? Or would you walk past, like most people do? There's no right answer. But whatever you choose, that's the part of you worth understanding.